welcome to It Happened in Grand Prairie, as we bring you the history of Grand Prairie, Texas, and some of the people that have been very important in bringing that history about, and some that are continuing to make wonderful history in our city. And we are in a very special celebration in the month of September commemorating Hispanic Heritage Month. And in order to do that, last year we looked for an exemplary family that really did, in our own eyes, meet the requirements that we really wanted to single out as the first family in the Hispanic community that had been in Grand Prairie just many, many years and had brought their family into the Grand Prairie schools and through the schools and have done a wonderful job in raising a beautiful family here. And so today, as we do history tape number 285, we are very pleased to have Mr. and Mrs. John Sarabia Jr. with us today. And we're just so pleased to welcome them as our choice for the first family to interview for Hispanic history. And we're delighted, first of all, to welcome Francis. Francis, welcome to the set.
Thanks for inviting us.
Yes, I'm just so glad. And John Jr., we are really delighted to get you here, young man. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for asking us.
All right, now we're going to talk about the Sarabias and their stay in Grand Prairie and maybe a little history about you as we go down the line. Mr. John, we'd like for you to look out into your camera over here and let's tell us a little bit about your family. If you'd like to tell us about your parents and name them and any brothers and sisters that you'd like to commemorate on this tape.
Well, as you said, I am Junior. My dad's name is John, and my mother's name was Lucy Sarabia, and we were born and raised in a little town called Seguin, Texas. And I have two other older brothers than myself and sisters, and they all live in different areas of Texas and outside of Texas.
Okay, all right. And when you grew up in Seguin, was that an exciting place to live when you were a young man?
Well, it was, because it was a small town. Everywhere we wanted to go, we actually could just walk or ride a bicycle. Of course, at that time, we didn't have any automobiles, so it was easier to get around. Just buy a bicycle and you're gone, when you could afford to buy one old enough to operate it.
Oh, that is great. And growing up in Seguin, how long did you live in Seguin before you moved away?
We lived in Seguin, or I lived in Seguin 18 and a half years, and then my in-laws moved to Dallas in '49, and my wife and I, Frances, decided to get married in 1950. So we moved from Seguin, lived in Dallas for 4 years. And coming from a small town, I really didn't like Dallas. It's too big a town, so we had an opportunity in '54 to buy in Grand Prairie, and we've been here ever since.
Oh, that's wonderful. All right, we're going to get back with you in just a few minutes and let us tell you what you did for a living and some of the other good things that we'd like to have on our history tape. But now let's get to Francis. Okay. Francis, it's wonderful to have you with us, and we'd like for you to develop your genealogy by giving us your parents' names and telling us anything you'd like to, and almost in the same pattern that Mr. John has followed.
Okay, I've read my pictures of my parents. They're Tomas and Flora Amador.
All right.
And then I have all these brothers and sisters, I brought a picture of them too.
All right.
We were 8. And,
there were 8 in the family. Okay.
One was in service, whenever we came down here to Dallas, and in Seguin, Texas, there were not very many jobs.
Yes.
So we had to pick cotton, to buy our clothes to go back to school, and
that's
we worked hard,
Yes, yes.
But it was fun, we to go and work and buy whatever clothes you wanted.
Yes.
And my mom took care of us, and my dad worked as a mechanic at
All right.
Ford Motor Company.
All right.
And my sister, she was like a second mother to us. Her name is Molly, and she was a big helper to my mother. She also found different jobs, like in cleaners or she. The parents way back, believed that women didn't have to go to school.
Yes, that is true.
And of course now it's different.
Yes.
They do have to go to school and go to college after they finish high school. So
Were you born in Seguin?
I was born in Seguin.
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay.
The only person in the family that came from Mexico was my dad.
All right.
And his father stayed over there, and he was 6 years old when he came. So, he had to start working, very, very hard
Yes.
at 6. So he didn't have an opportunity to stop and learn to write or
Yes.
to read.
But he was good enough to work it forward, right?
Well, he was intelligent, not
Yes.
only work, but for his business, for the
Yes.
family.
Mm-hmm.
So the Lord helped us.
All right. And then you two married in 1950?
Yes.
Yes. And came to Dallas.
Well, my dad, the man that, Mr. Guerrero,
Yes.
the music teachers moved to Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
So on a visit back home, they visited and were invited, come visit us. There's good jobs,
Yes.
there's nice homes. So my dad and the boys came, and they got, jobs and a home. And so then we came home, we followed them, or they went after us, in December.
Yes.
And that's when he decided, well, let's get married right away. And my dad said no. He said not till July 9th,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So we didn't marry till July 9th.
Following the instructions of your dad.
Mhm.
Oh, that's wonderful. And after you came to Dallas, did you work out of the home, or did you stay at home with children?
Oh, no, I found a job right away at a 5 and 10,
Okay.
and then at a department store downtown.
Okay. Which department store did you work?
It was Tachi's.
Taichi's, yes.
Yes.
Yes, old Taichi's. That's wonderful.
Uh-huh.
And what did you do at Taichi's?
I was a sales lady,
A sales lady. How wonderful. What department were you in?
clothes,
In clothing.
dresses.
Uh-huh, dresses. It's great. And then now we're going to have to get down to around pretty soon after that, surely that you had a family.
Oh, yes. By then
But before we get to that family, let's show
Okay.
some pictures of your folks, shall we?
yes, good.
I think that we'll get, let's see. Or you want John to hold them up to see, let him be the ambassador of holding these up, and hold them up about right here, John, so we can clue in on this camera.
John, can I see it too?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, how's that?
This is my grandfather on my mother's side, Matias.
All
And
right.
this is my mother. And then she had 3 brothers. And my grandmother named Francisca.
Oh.
I'm named after her.
Oh, you're named after your grandmother. How
Uh-huh.
great. All right, let's swap pictures with John again and use this one.
Yes, this is my family here. My father and my mother, and we have all grown
Now, where
up.
are you?
This is me right here.
Oh, that is Francis on that side.
And this is my brother Arnold, and Lucy, and Carmen, my sister Molly, and my brother Tom. He still has an orchestra, and plays very regularly.
Great.
This is my sister Maria Elena, And this is my sister Adela.
Oh, yes, that is a wonderful family portrait. You're so lucky to have that in your memoirs. Okay, let's get some more of these pictures. Are all of these now of your immediate family?
Yes,
We're going to save those and let John help show those then, shall we? All right. Now, that's the one we need. Now, when we got married, on July the 9th, 1950, isn't that right?
Right.
And that is the picture. Where were you married?
Right in Dallas in a Catholic church.
And do you know which one?
Our Lady of Guadalupe.
Okay. Now, see, we have all that documented so nicely. Your kids will be real thrilled that we have that on the record. And you were a beautiful, beautiful bride. And you know, John was a pretty handsome young man, wasn't he?
Yes.
And still is. We've already bragged on him today, how good he looks today. And especially when he admitted to us that he's going to be 65, just reeled right around the corner. And that doesn't seem possible, does it, Francis?
Yes, he's a good man.
Yes. All right, and tell me a little bit more about your life when you worked in Dallas at Teich's, and then where did you go?
After that, I got pregnant right away with my son, you know, Robert.
Robert, and he's your older son. Okay, we're going to share Robert with John Jr., aren't we? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I stopped working.
Yes.
And I didn't go back to work till all my children were in school.
All right. Now, did your older son, was he born in Dallas or Grand Prairie?
He was born in Dallas.
In Dallas. Okay. All right.
Because we didn't move to Grand Prairie, you know, till later on.
Till later on, till 54. Okay. We're going to talk about some more of the kids in a minute, but we've got to get back to John Jr. here, and we have him to Dallas, but he's not even working as far as we're concerned in this record. So we're going to find out when he came to Dallas. What'd you do, John, sir?
Well, when I first came to Dallas, I managed to get a job as a helper in a welding shop.
In a welding shop? How wonderful.
Through the years, I found some good friends, and then they started showing me how to weld. I used to be just a helper, and then they began to teach me how to weld. And I eventually learned that trade, and then I got certified. And I was a welder for a number of years, and then I became what they call a fitter, where they read blueprints and build vessels and all, build tanks. So, out in '74, they gave me an opportunity to become a welding inspector. So the last few years of my working, I was what they call an ASME welding inspector up to this late, about 3 or 4 years ago, that I kind of retired from working. So I had an opportunity, and I had some good friends to teach me, and it was hard work, but I didn't finish my education, didn't finish high school, so like they say, I learned the hard way, but I'm not complaining. I was able to help the kids out, Francis and myself, and put them through school.
Yes.
And, I mean, we were blessed with the opportunity that we had able to do all that. You know, we didn't have to worry about not telling them, well, you can't go because we don't have this and we don't have that. So we struggled like average family, I guess, but we made it.
Well, you worked together as a team with her working before, and then you're getting an opportunity to learn welding. Where did you work when you first started out as your welding?
The place I worked is, it was on Fort Worth Avenue, which is not there anymore, but it used to be Southwestern Steel and Welding Works. Yes. And then they eventually changed to Dantzler Steel, and they just kept, they had a rough year in the steel industry, and three places that I worked for a number of years decided to close the doors, you know.
Yes, yes.
So my last 5 years, I believe, that I worked here in Grand Prairie at a Dalworth Tank Company.
Dalworth Tank, oh yes.
So they treated me real nice there. They were good people, and you know, of course, I when I reached 62, I figured I better call it quits. And then, of course, Frances got a little sick, and I had to take care of her, which I still do. So it worked out pretty good.
Well, working at Dalworth Tank here in Grand Prairie, Texas, are there any special people that you worked with that you'd like to remember that were like your foreman or the owner of the business or someone else that you'd like to name drop that gave you wonderful opportunities?
The owner of the business, because he was about my same age, and
Yes.
we hit it off pretty good, and we got to be real good friends. And of course, the foreman, he was a younger person, and he, like I say, they were all nice. Even the helpers, the workers there. As a shop inspector, I didn't have any trouble with them as far as cooperation, so that was a good thing.
Well, of all of the things that you made at the Dalworth Tank, I pass by there quite often and I see some of these huge steel tanks. What are some of those used for, Mr. John?
Well, there's different varieties. It all depends. Some of them are made for brewery companies.
Yes.
And some of them might even go to overseas or
they
other
do.
states. So it all depends on the company that wants them to fabricate a tank or a vessel. So it's hard to determine what they want them for, and of course we fit them to the standards or to the blueprints, and make sure that they work right. You know.
If you get an order in for one of those huge tanks, the material comes in from somewhere else and you all do the welding. How long would it take you to complete one of those?
It's hard to say because sometimes there's a slack in material that we need for certain jobs, and you can only get it to certain places, and you have to wait in line. There's so many other companies waiting for that material. So what they do, they just say, estimate maybe about 3 months, and then just work as hard as they can to, number one, get all the material together before they start putting everything together, you know, before they start fabricating it.
Did you ever work for Mr. Brummett?
No, I had heard a whole lot about Mr. Brummett. They tell me
He was an
a good
older
man.
gentleman that we had known in the
He
community.
had passed away by the time I went to work with Delaware.
I see. Okay. Now let's get back to Frances. Frances, it's about time for us to tell about the kids, isn't it?
Yes.
You have some wonderful children, and we want to tell about them when they were young, though. When you were in the PTA, you and I worked together in the PTA down
Yes.
at Fannin and wherever. Tell us a little bit about after you moved to Grand Prairie and you had your children and they got in school. Then what did Frances do?
Well, you know, I was at school with them.
Yes, yes.
I'd go knock, you know, make sure everything was fine and see what the teachers needed and be a room mother,
Yes.
you know. And
Yes.
then I started working with the PTA, taking courses, you know, to know what to do and
Yes.
learn the PTA procedures, and it was fun, you know.
And when y'all moved to Grand Prairie, where did you first move to?
It was 3522 Reinhardt.
On Reinhardt Street. Okay. Down
It was
in
a nice little home, you know.
down in the Fannin area, right?
Right.
And was Mr. Kane the principal when you came? Or?
Yes.
He was. Oh, that is great. And do you remember any of the teachers that were at Fannin that were real special to you that helped a lot with the kids?
I remember all of them, but you know the names have just escaped me. Especially the man teacher there, you know, they showed the boys, you know. I think that they just looked up to him.
Yes.
Do you remember his name?
No, I wouldn't know what era it was in.
Well, let's see.
We need to name the rest of your children. Now we have your older son already named in here, and let's show a picture of he and his little family and talk
Yes,
about them
that's
a little
his
bit.
family, Robert and
That's Robert.
Diane, Brandon, And this is Amanda, and this is little Bobby.
Little Bobby, okay.
And he likes to be called Robert Aaron.
Oh, Robert Aaron.
Oh, yes, they
Yes.
have a little one.
All right, tell us about the little one.
Oh, that little one is so loved. She's already 2.
All right, and her
and
name?
Her name is Emily.
Emily. Oh, that is great.
She has 4 names. Do you remember all the names, John?
He said, don't give me a test right now, not on television.
They,
All right, and your second son, and you're going to have to tell us his name and about all about his little family there.
well, it's Richard and Lorraine and Vincent, and this is Adrian, and this is Alana, and this little Marcus.
Little Marcus. Oh, yes. Those are wonderful. Now, both of these young men are attorneys in town, right?
Right, uh-huh.
Yes, all right. Now, we have 2 sons that are attorneys. Now, let's get to the rest of the family.
This is my daughter Christine and her husband Pat, and their son Stephen, and this is Jennifer and Stacy.
All right, all right. And this is your daughter. Where does she live?
She lives right here in Grand
Lives
Prairie.
right here in Grand Prairie, Texas. Okay,
Yes,
that's a three out of 3 in Grand Prairie so far.
Thank God they all live here.
All right, that's great.
That's my youngest one, Kathy, in the middle, and her daughter Rachel and Jonathan.
Okay, and they live in Grand Prairie also?
Yes.
Oh, I think you're just so blessed. And you had one other picture, I believe, that is a later picture of your mother.
Yes. This is a recent picture of my mom taken at church.
And where does she live?
Oak Cliff,
She lives in Oak Cliff. Give us her name one more time so it'll be up with her picture.
Flora.
Flora. That is
Flora.
Flora, your mommy. Aren't you pleased and blessed to have her still with
She
you?
just had her 92nd birthday.
92. That is magnificent. Well, you do have one of your sisters that's very ill at this time. Would you like to mention her name?
Well, she's Molly.
She's Molly, the one that was so special, that was like a mother to some of you all and helped in a tremendous way. Well,
Yes.
yes, she's on our prayer list for Miss Molly. Well, now, with all of these children and all of these grandchildren, how exciting it is to be a grandparents of such a wonderful heritage. You want to talk a little bit about the kids when they were growing up, about Robert and Richard when they were coming through school and where they went to school? And
Well, they went to Fannin,
all right,
and then they went to Jefferson,
all right,
and our oldest son Robert went to Grand Prairie High.
all right.
By that time, we moved to South Grand Prairie.
Yes, yes.
So then,
You crossed the line into the warrior territory, didn't you? Yes, you did.
And then, Richard graduated from South.
So you have one gopher and one warrior.
Yes.
All right, and then the rest of your family graduated from South also?
Yes.
Okay. And where did Robert go on to college?
He started at Mountain View,
All right,
and then went to UTA here in Arlington,
yes.
and then finished at SMU.
And that good old law school, right? All right, now tell us a little bit about Richard. He went to South. We know he went to South, and then?
He went to also Mountain View College,
All right,
and then he went to UTA.
yes.
Graduated from there. From UTA, he went to the Denver University.
Denver, how exciting. Oh, that's wonderful. All right, and you have them all working and practicing law and doing good things in Grand Prairie, but now let's get to the 2 daughters.
I just wanted to add that, Richard came back and graduated from SMU.
After Denver?
He didn't stay.
He didn't stay in Denver.
No, they didn't stay. They were already married, and
Yes.
they decided to come back.
And SMU. So both of your sons graduated from SMU Law School. I think that's just wonderful. All right, now tell us about your daughters. They both went to South.
Yes,
And did they go on to school, or did they go in another direction?
No, they didn't. You know, they got married young, and
Yes,
I told them, you know,
that's fine.
whatever.
Yes.
I prefer not to, but anyway, they started working, and like I said, they got married young.
Do they work out of the home now, the two girls?
No, they're both working.
Homemakers.
Where is Kathy working, John?
Zales. Zales.
Yeah, she works at the Sales Corporation.
Oh, yeah, that is great.
In Las Colinas, you know.
Uh-huh.
And our daughter Christine works
Central.
in another place.
Central?
No, not Central.
No?
She works in an office, you know, payroll office.
Oh, that is good. Well, we got to have us all busy, don't we? And of all of your grandchildren, do you all have a real big time when it gets to Christmas and some of the holidays that we have, and have good fun?
We do, you know.
And where do you go
the-
to, and tell us about your church, would you?
all the birthdays, you know, and grandmother's birthday and all that. The church is Immaculate Conception.
All right.
It used to be where I taught, you know, and took courses to teach religion.
Yes.
But now we're at South,
Yes.
and my husband is very active there.
Oh, that's great.
He helps a lot to build some of the steel things that they need there, you know, or fix up things, and
Yes. Uh-huh.
and I kind of just help them with little things, you know. I don't do the like I used to do the cooking and all that.
John, we have 1 minute left on our interview. We've just taken up so much of your good time, but is there anything you would like to say about living in Grand Prairie before we leave the set?
Well, no, I like it here very much, and then I hope that all my children continue to stay here. You know,
Yes.
they don't drift off like we drifted from Seguin. But
Yes.
It's their decisions, whatever it is. And we did want to mention that we have one granddaughter who's going to Baylor University now. So
Great.
luckily she'll finish her schooling.
Great. And following in the tradition of the mothers and fathers that really care enough about their family to see that they get education and continue on into the quality of life. I want to thank y'all for being with us today. Y'all are so wonderful, and I salute you as very special friends, and thank you for raising such a wonderful family in Grand Prairie, Texas, and y'all staying with us too and trying to keep them here too.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruthie.
And this is Ruthie Jackson reminding you that history is as we live and do.